Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to round 4 of the Namibian Motorsport Federation 2023 eSports Series. Coming to you live this afternoon from, I believe this is a fictitious track, but it is based in the United States. So this is our German Touring versus British Touring Car Championship. This, of course, is round 4, coming to you from the electric docks. It's an unknown location, but it looks like it's based in America, but judging by all the signs. It's a 4.1 kilometer circuit, or 2.5 miles. It's a pretty challenging circuit. It's a street circuit, lots and lots of chicanes, very, very tight, lots of walls everywhere, a little bit of undulation, several bridges, lots of cranes, lots of distractions for the drivers. Of course, this is round 4 of our 10-round championship. So this round is electronic docks or electric docks. The following round will be Suzuka in Japan. Then we'll head over to Road Atlanta in America. Then Road America. Then Lime Rock Park. Then Hockenheim. And then Alton Park, or possibly even Tony Rust. Our point system for the championship. For first place, you get 20 points, second place 18, and it goes down by 2 points until you get into the 7th position. Then it drops down by 1 point all the way down to 15. So points from 1st to 15th place. Also 1 point available for pole position and 1 point available for the fastest lap. Our standings coming into this round. After round 3, we have Jean-Ray Du Toit leading on 57 points. Yandre Duppenaar up into second place on 52 points. Apologies, he was in second place. He's just closed the gap slightly. Richard Salier on 46 points in third place. Adrian Nel up to fourth place on 43 points and looking strong. Peter Murray in fifth place with 28 points. JP Salier in sixth place with 28 points as well. Wayne Kruger in P7 with 24 points, Donovan Vermaak in P8 with 17 points, and Monet Du Toit in 15th place, in P9 with 15 points, Andre Besson in 10th place with 12 points. Our drivers are about to head out onto track. I'm just going to be checking before we jump to qualifying per se. I know some of our drivers are on track at the moment. Let's just have a look. I think we're just waiting as the time is about to start. I'm going to jump to our live feed. So this is the official qualifying. So welcome if you're just joining now. This is qualifying for the Namibian Motorsport Federation's 2023 eSports Series. This is the British touring car that they'll be driving today in round 4 of the electronic docks, which is based in the US. I'm your commentator, Dennis Mitchell, joined by Sean Woodgate. Sean, are you here?
Yes, Dennis. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. Hopefully everyone can hear Sean today.
Yeah. I see we actually lost. We had 12 people out in practice, but we've only got 11 on the track in qualifying at the moment. Hopefully the other driver does make it to the qualifying session.
Yes, it'd be nice to have 12. It would be most of our drivers in joining for this race.
Oh, here he joins now.
Right, let's get everything up and running. We have all the drivers pretty much on track, apart from, I think it's Jean-Ray Du Toit, who is still in the pits. Jean-Ray, of course, is our championship leader at the moment.
As you said, Dennis, a very unforgiving circuit. Concrete barriers to contend with, not much runoff zone, and a futuristic design or look of track in a harbour facility with cranes and things all around to distract the drivers. But certainly we'll see that. I think a lot of guys took the easy decision and chose the BMW, but a couple of them that were a bit adventurous. There's Vauxhall Astra that Andre Besson is driving, number 33. And then the Hyundai i30 is Wayne Kruger, that's number 123. There's a Infinity, the Q50, that's Monet Du Toit, number 62. And the Hyundai i30, another one of those who's also the leader in the points, is Jean-Ray Du Toit. So more than one make of car, which makes it interesting. And also the fact that the Hyundai is front-wheel drive and the BMW, as well as the Infinities, are rear-wheel drive.
And the Vauxhall is also front-wheel drive, so we have
I forgot about the Vauxhall.
a pretty even split of 2 front-wheel drive and 2 rear-wheel drive manufacturers.
It was a point of interest when we had touring cars running in South Africa many years ago, and what we ran as the factory Opels in South Africa, it was Michael Briggs and Grant McCleary. Everybody said, yes, it's the Opel Astras, but it was actually fully imported Vauxhalls. Same as what the BMW was fully imported out of Germany, the left-hand drive, but they certainly were quick. It was BMW and Opel in those days that were giving each other uphill. But I think today the car that's going to be the one worth watching is going to be the Hyundai in the hands of Jean de Toy, number 737.
Certainly looking like a bullet around this circuit. But in the last few minutes of the practice session building up to qualifying, it looked like he was only P3. It looked like Adrian Nel was the pace setter, with Jandre Dippenaar squeezing in just ahead of Jandre. So Jandre, I think, is going to have his work cut out for him.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. But I think this track, the main thing you've got to do is keep your nose clean or keep your car off the barrier. And we have seen that some of the cars are very skittish. Here they have curbing going into some of the corners, and that corner that Andre just got out of now, depending how much of that curbing you do use, it actually throws you to the outside of the corner, and the outside of the corner has a concrete barrier.
And speaking of Adrian Nel, getting very, very sideways and managing to hang on to it there and avoid the wall as well on the exit.
He's going to have his heart beating in his throat like that.
I'm sure he would have lost a bit of time in Sector 1, though. I'm not sure if his sector is still good because his lap time is counting, but it hasn't shown the sector, so perhaps he had a cut somewhere and it hasn't registered.
Not only the time that he might have lost as well, the tyres that he will have lost with that car's back end sliding like that. The qualifying session is only 15 minutes, and we've got just over 10 minutes to go. So I'm not sure how much time it takes to go in for a new set of tyres to try and get in a better lap. But if Adrian did get the car sliding, then certainly that would have caused a bit of wear on the rear tyres of that car.
Something interesting to note as we're watching Adrian go around. He hit the barrier there. Wayne Kruger is the only driver that's currently on a medium tyre. All other drivers driving on the soft tyre. So for some reason, deciding that the medium tyre is his tyre of choice. And hitting the barrier extremely hard there. I'm sure that car is going to be damaged.
Yeah, it's back to pits.
Here we see TJ, his car also looking like he's had a bit of damage to the front. This is the danger of the street circuit, is all the walls everywhere. A small mistake and you can hit the barrier, and that's the end of your car. The drivers are going to have to be very, very careful in the race that they don't hit the barriers.
And with only less than 10 minutes to go, we've only got 6 cars that have actually posted a lap time. And if you look at the one for TJ, I'm not sure whether he's just taking this or they had the first one as a slow lap just to find out the lay of the land, but it's certainly not a lap that he would use in race trim, or alternatively he's still getting used to the car and the circuit. But 2:19 compared to the 1:26, which is the quickest lap Andre Besson set up in the Vauxhall Astra.
So I think the guys that are, even if they just get a banker lap in, it's definitely going to help them, because at the moment, if only half the field do a time and you get a banker lap in, well, you're going to qualify 6th.
Yeah. So everybody trying to improve, obviously, and there TJ does, well, he still has a 1:36 compared to the 1:26, which is a 10-second difference, but he's up in 6th position, which some of the guys that don't have a time at all are the rest. It'd be interesting to see how they determine who, if they weren't to post the time, how they determine the grid start if the guys do not post a qualifying lap time.
Jandre Dippenaar coming up just behind TJ there. TJ now moving over. Jandre is on a personal best in Sector 1. crosses the train lines there. There are train lines crossing there, and this is kind of an industrial type dock, so you have all sorts of things in the background, trains running up and down, you have cars driving everywhere. There's quite a lot of activity happening in the background.
And you can see all the containers and what we call the container gantries that ship the containers, well, either off the ship or onto the truck to take it away. But they're all over the circuit, and at times the drivers drive through underneath 4 cranes in a row. So it actually makes a lot of sense. Other than this being virtually flat, it's an interesting circuit, and I think you have to get the race lines absolutely right to get a quick lap in.
And Yandre setting the fastest overall final sector, but I think he was held up at the start there by TJ in front of him, or he's just being cautious so that he doesn't get too aggressive and end up in the barrier. So we might see him improve on this lap. He's now, looks like he might be catching up to JP ahead of him.
And the way that we see the lap scoring monitor, if it's a green sector, then it's a personal best in the sector. If it comes purple, then it's the best for all competitors on circuit. And then, of course, it accumulates the times. If you have a green lap time, then it's your personal best lap time. If it's a purple, then you will pop up into P1.
You definitely want to see purple.
All over the show.
That's the color of choice.
Yeah. I see Donovan still on those mediums, but hasn't posted. He's got a personal best in Sector 1 now, but at the moment only in 10th position, based on the fact that him, JP Sillier and Dirk, all 3 of them running BMWs, have not posted a time at all.
Beautiful drift there by Yandre into the final turn. Got it in sideways and just hold it nicely out there. Let's see if he jumps up at all. Did improve up to second.
Yeah, purple for Sector 3. So at the moment, if one looks, Adrian Mel's got the quickest Sector 1. He's out on a hot lap at the moment. Yandre has the quickest in Sector 3. I missed who actually got the quickest time in Sector 2. So it might be that the person on pole, in theory, doesn't have the fastest potential lap because he doesn't have purples in all 3 sectors.
Adrian takes provisional pole with that lap, and he got a purple, a green, and a yellow. Yellow means it's not faster than he's been in the final sector, so he has room for improvement.
So that's going to be interesting. He does get that BMW sliding out, and with a 35-minute main race, as I say that, he nudges the wall, which is not what you want to be doing in the race proper. Especially if you do cause damage to the fender, which then rubs up against the tire. But Adrian, we have seen in previous races, he's quick in qualifying, but when it comes to strategy of actual racing, then he's a little bit harsh on the tires to his own detriment, and he falls down. Last time he actually went in for tires, changed tires, came out, he was incredibly quick, but it looks as though the tires went off quite quickly again. There he slides the back end of the BMW, but that's Peter Marais. And Peter Marais finds himself in 7th position. That's car number 420, and that's also one of the BMWs. As I said, mostly BMWs in this field of 12 cars today. So it looks as though everybody at least does have a lap time posted.
And so far we have Adrian Nel on provisional pole, Andre Besson right up in 2nd place, and Yandre Dippenaar. So very, very close. Only 0.3 between the top 3 drivers.
Now the top 5 are 1, 2, 3 BMWs, a Vauxhall Astra in 2nd place, and a Hyundai i30 of Jean-Ray de Tour in 4th. So 3 rear-wheel drives, 2 front-wheel drives, and 3 different manufacturers make up the top 5.
Peter getting very, very slidey there, so hopefully he can control that in the race. But I don't think his rear tyres are going to be looking too pretty at the end of the race if he keeps driving like that.
Okay, look at the weather. It looks like sunny, clear skies, blue. So I don't think there's going to be any effect by any rain. It's a short race, and I can't see the weather changing that quickly from what we can see. A dry race. And Donovan has made a change since I spoke last on his medium compound tires on that BMW. He's popped it up into 6th position. So
good improvement.
Yeah, he's just under 2 seconds behind the race leader. So maybe when tyre wear degradation does become a factor later in the race, there's still 3 minutes of qualifying to go. But then again, he can put different tyres on in the race than what he's got on in qualifying at the moment.
We see Wayne Kruger making a pass on Dirk there. Wayne is on his outlap. We also saw Peter Murray jumping up to 7th place. So he's managing to improve a little bit.
Yeah, Peter's just over 2.3 seconds behind the pace setter, which is Adrian Nel, as we said earlier on. Yes, as we said before, this is a track designed for e-racing and very unforgiving, as all of them are, except that here they're not running the electric cars, they are running the British touring car category, and the BMW, I think specifically, is quite a heavy car to be throwing around on this circuit.
Something interesting, on the times at the moment, we have Wayne, who we're watching, who is currently on the track. He's ahead of Dirk, but Dirk is ahead of him in the times. Dirk currently in 8th, Wayne currently in 10th. Wayne does look like he's faster in the first sector. Here it looks like Dirk starts to catch, and maybe the different cars or the drivers suiting different sectors. Dirk now coming right up to the back of Wayne. So
maybe he's using a slipstream, if there is one to be had.
Yes. And there it looks like Wayne pulls away slightly in that part.
I was going to get excited with Adrian's current lap. He posted a purple sector 1 and then a nothing really noteworthy sector 2. So with 1 minute 15 to go and they run in 1:25, Adrian will more than likely get in another lap if he chooses to do so. As also will Jean-Ray, who's just gone through sector 2.
And in the background there we see Dirk losing it, getting adrift and overcorrecting into the barrier.
Yeah, so they've got a little bit of work to do before the race proper, which is 35 minutes, as we said, for the race. Qualifying is just under a minute to go.
Did Wayne improve? He didn't. He stays 10th.
JP Silvier in 11th and TJ Duvenacher behind them in 12th.
So with 30 seconds left to go, the two of them squabbling on track here. That's definitely not going to help them for their next lap. If they get to the start-finish in time, they can still do another lap.
24 seconds to go. Oh, there's a four-wheel slide. It reminds me, in motorcycles, I think Randy Mamola was the first guy to two-wheel slide a motorcycle in MotoGP back in the day. They were still running the 500s back then. But the four-wheel slide looks spectacular, but not very good for lap time or tyre wear.
Okay, so out of our top drivers, Andre Besson and Jean-Andre Dupin are in the pits, so they won't be improving. Adrian Nel has pitted.
Yeah, he has pole.
Jean-Andre de Toy.
He's in 4th and he's on circuit, but he's not posting anything spectacular.
His car is looking rather second-hand, and he's had a very, very slow first sector. He won't be improving. What about Richard?
No.
As Richard comes across the line, jumps up to 3rd. Good improvement there, and he moves Jean-Andre down to 4th place. So great improvement there.
Yeah, he had a personal best in sector 1 and a purple in sector 3. So that's what gives Richard the 3rd position on the last possible lap that he could have completed for the qualifying.
And JP had a personal best sector 1 and then dropped it and headed for the barrier. So TJ, the last driver on track, will be heading to an ad break shortly. As he crosses the line, we can jump to an ad break before we wait for the drivers to form up on the grid.
And just what we haven't said, it is a rolling start.
Yes, that's correct. The rolling starts, the safety car will lead the drivers around.
Chances are they'll have a gentleman's agreement because it's a straight, but a very short distance behind the start line. There is a chicane, but I think it'll be dumb to bring the race to an end with a bit of bravado on that first chicane. So I think they'll try and get through the chicane without any incident and then really go racing after that.
All right, TJ heading for the final turn.
His best so far, 135, 198. Let's see if he can improve on that.
Managing to keep it away from the barrier there. That was quite close. All right, let's see. Is it going to improve? I think he did improve, but not enough. All right, let's jump to an ad break. We'll be back shortly.
Speak to you then.
Welcome back, everybody. This, of course, is the Namibian Motorsport Federation 2023 eSports Series. This is the German Touring vs. British Touring Car Series. This is round 4, coming to you from the Electric Docks in the supposedly United States. I am your commentator, Dennis Mitchell, joined once again by Sean Woodgate. Afternoon, Sean.
Good afternoon again. Good afternoon again, Dennis. Good afternoon, everybody.
We're just waiting for the drivers to head out. They have a few seconds to go. When the safety car will pull away, they will follow the safety car. I'm just showing all the standings in the meantime. So we have Jean-Louis Dutoy leading the championship.
Nice and tight. Only 5 points between first and second.
Very, very close championship. I think it's going to go down to the wire.
Yeah. The next round, Suzuka, could be interesting.
Let's have a look at our starting order. So Adrianel in pole position from Andre Besson, Richard Celia in third place, and Yandre Dupinot in fourth place. surprisingly, Jean-Ray du Toit only in 5th place, Donovan Vermaak 6th place, Peter Murray 7th, and Dirk Kotzer in 8th. In 9th place, Monet du Toit, 10th place, Wayne Kruger, 11th place, JP Celia, and 12th place, TJ Juvenacher.
Just out of a matter of interest, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 competitors. So half the field are running on soft compound tires. On mediums, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars running on mediums. And in 6th place, Donovan Vermaak, running a BMW, is the only competitor on the hard compound. So it's going to be interesting to see whether the hard is going to be beneficial for him or whether the mediums are going to do it. Adrian, the pole sitter, has elected to go on softs. Andre Besson in 2nd position on mediums. Then 2 sets of softs for Richard Sillier as well as for Jan-Ray Dippenaar. In 5th position, Jean-Ray du Toit on mediums and Donovan Vermaak on the hard tire. So that's the top 6. And we also, just to give a bit of variation, we have 1, 2, 3 BMWs in the top 5. Which Andre Arnell is the pole sitter, the Vauxhall Astra of, why am I getting that wrong today? The Astra of Andre Besson is in 2nd. Then it's 2 BMWs, Richard Sillier and Jan-Ray Dippenaar. And then the Hyundai i30 of Jean-Ray du Toit, our series leader, in 5th position. Only 0.3 of a second slower than the pace sitter. Well, no, I lied. That's as they run at the moment. That's the gap, but that'll be ever changing as they get to the start.
So the pace car will peel in the pit entrances just before the final turn, sorry, just after the final turn. At that point, the drivers will be able to put their foot down, but they are going to stay in position until the checkered flag. If they change position before the checkered flag, they will get penalties, so they have to be in position. But the drivers' agreement have said that they would stay in position until after the first chicane, just so they can avoid any incidents. It is a very, very, very tight first chicane. You certainly can't win the race in the first corner, but you definitely can lose it.
Yeah, and we've seen in the practice, the free practice session, some of these cars actually, if you look at this cement barrier, it has a slope to it at the bottom, and that actually flips some of the cars over. So you really have to be very careful to avoid the cement barrier.
Yeah, I wonder how many of the guys are going to end up hitting the barrier in the race. Hopefully they'll take it easy and pace themselves. It is a 35-minute race, so they don't want to be jumping the gun too early. Of course, if you're watching, remember to hit the like and subscribe button. Keep up to date with all the Namibian Motorsports activities, and you can head over to the Namibian Motorsport links, which does pop up on the screen with a flyer at the top of the screen every 5 minutes. If you would like to get involved in any Namibian Motorsport or anything involved with the FIA or FIM, you can head over to their websites as well and get any information required. Alright, they're nearing the end of the lap. It is quite a long lap. The safety car seems to be driving very slow today. Not sure if he's having his cup of tea while he's driving or something, but very, very sedate out lap.
I see some of the guys are weaving, and whether that works in sim racing or not, I don't know, but I think if you do want to get some heat into your tires, then it's worth the effort. But yes, the pace car is not very quick today.
Heading up to the final corner, it looks like Adrian giving the safety car a slight gap. Safety car has peeled into the pits. Drivers taking formation. They will start to accelerate once they get to the line. Of course, Adrian can set the pace at this point. But do you see positions changing further back?
I was just wondering whether that position change didn't happen before the start line. Now, here's the first chicane that we spoke about, and it looks as though everybody seems to have got through that quite cleanly. And I'm not sure if it was Dirk or Mornay that might have changed position. That car with the blue on it, that's Wayne Kruger. So, there's somebody into the barrier already very early in the race. So I'm not sure whether Wayne Kruger got an overtake before the start line, because as you were explaining, that will more than likely give him a penalty.
Yes, it might have been just as he crossed the line he got the place. So maybe it won't get a penalty for that, but I'm sure the other drivers won't be happy.
Yeah, but we'll have to wait and see. And Jean-Andre holding on to the fifth position. We'll have to wait and see once there's somebody into the barrier as well from, I think the back markers, was that Dirk or Donovan. So as they fall off the race, I think it might be Peter Murray, because Peter Murray down in 11th place. Donovan Vermaak actually is down at the bottom of the field, and I don't think that's where he started. TJ Divenhofer started from right at the back of the field, and Donovan finds himself there at the moment. But also Peter Murray more than 11 seconds behind JP Silvier in 10th. So have they already had a handshake with one of the cement barriers?
Quite possibly.
Obviously, the first lap is the purple lap, and it's Adrian Nel that comes across first. But he seems to hold it, but he's got free space in front of him. But that being said, Jean-Ray de Toy posts a purple sector 2 and personal best, as you'd expect, in sector 1 and 3. But that might give us an indication of what Jean-Ray de Toy is going to be doing late in the race, that he might be able to mount a challenge. And he is on mediums, whereas Adrian Nel is on softs.
And at the moment, there's a bit of yo-yoing going on here. So Andre Besson at certain parts of the track catches Adrian Nel, and other parts he falls back, and then Yandre Dippenaar starts to catch him. So he's sort of going between them, but the distance between Yandre and Adrian is pretty much static at about 2 seconds at the moment. We'll keep an eye on that.
We did say last week in the German touring cars that they have DRS if you're within a second. Do they have DRS in the British touring cars as well?
No, they do not.
Not, so they're static. Okay, so then you rely, and this track being very flat with, it doesn't have many long sweeping curves. It's more like a point and squirt, and then brake for the chicane, and then point and squirt again. So I think they'll probably be using very little downforce and rely on the mechanical braking and the mechanical grip to get through the corners.
All right, let's look further back. We see Richard in the distance, not too far back. And right behind we have Jean de Toy, also right there, lurking.
In this early stage of the race, as we saw, and I wasn't sure of it when I commentated on it, Donovan Vermaak does have a DNF. So we're down to 11. And Peter Murray is a lap down already, so I'm almost sure that he had contact with the barrier within lap 1. So as you said, you certainly can't win the race in lap 1, but you definitely can lose it.
Oh, Jean-Andre hitting the wall there. A little bit of oversteer on the exit of the corner.
It's not going to do the Hyundai any good, but we'll wait and see. The front 5 have each other in sight, but if you look at the gap, 2.7 seconds that Adrian Nel leads Andre Besson. But that being said, Andre is on mediums, and Adrian, he's just posting purples all over the show while the softs are still good. And he's in the lead by now 3.2 seconds. That's really quick.
We did see in practice he was hitting the barrier quite a lot, pushing the limits, so maybe he was just feeling the limits, and now he knows where the limit is and he's just able to push the car. But will his tires last? We have seen his tires do go off sometimes faster than the other drivers, as he sets a personal best of a 126.2. He is on the soft tires, other drivers are on the mediums. How will it last?
Yeah, that's the quickest lap of the race so far. And if you look at Andre Besson behind him, did a 128 dead, virtual 128.1. So that's almost a 2-second variance on one lap, which means that Andre Besson is 3 seconds behind Adrian Nel.
Yeah, sometimes these gaps at the start are quite large, end up closing up depending on their race strategies. Different cars, some are front-wheel drive, some are rear-wheel drive, different tires, softs, mediums, hards, different strategies. Maybe they need to pit.
Yeah, I think the 35-minute race time is just enough that you've got to be in the back of your mind. You have to make a decision at what point or how long do I race cautiously, and at what point do I just throw caution to the wind and go with what I've got left.
So now Yandre Dippenaar catching up to Adrian Besson.
That's less than 0.4 of a second. Richard Sillier only another second behind. But Jean-Ray du Toit, as we did say during qualifying, we're surprised. He's the series leader, but he is 2 seconds behind Richard Sillier. So quite a bit of catching up to do there.
But he definitely had the pace in the practice. He didn't seem to have the pace in qualifying, though.
Yeah. So let's just also have a look. Jean-Ray is running a medium compound. So ahead of him are 3 cars on soft and Andre Besson on the medium. And as we said, Andre Besson is now over 4 seconds behind Adrian Nel, the guy that's in front. It's BMW in the lead with the Vauxhall Astra in second. So 2 different cars, rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, soft compound for the rear-wheel drive BMW, medium compound for the Vauxhall, which is front-wheel drive. So 4 factors that we actually have in play for the guys that are running first and second.
And now Richard's coming into play as well, so he's giving Yandre a hard time.
And there they are both running BMWs, and they are both on the same compound, which is soft. So that's man and machine against man and machine.
This is all playing into Adrian's hands. So Adrian, whether he is going to ruin his tyres or not, he's getting quite a large gap at the moment. Hopefully he'll be able to create a gap that he can then manage and ease his tyres. But if he keeps going the way he's going, he might end up burning his tyres out.
There are some sections of this track where you have enough of a straightaway, I think, to allow the tyres to cool if you've put them really under a bit of strain going through the corners and sliding the car, which might help. But once tyre wear is gone, it's gone. It can never be recovered. But we see that Adrian is now almost 5 seconds. There it goes now. More than 5 seconds ahead of Andre Besson. So certainly the soft compound on that BMW of his is working very well compared to the medium compound that the Vauxhall Astra of Andre Besson is kitted with.
Of course, hello to everyone on the YouTube channel. The comments there are always appreciated. So, and thank you to all the support for all our drivers.
I think it must be quite a nice Sunday afternoon activity to have the family watching the YouTube streaming of the race. And we are very privileged to be able to give you, just to add a little bit of color to what you actually see on the track ahead of you.
So this is quite an entertaining 3-way battle here now.
You read my mind. I was about to say exactly the same thing. It's between Andre Besson, which is a Vauxhall Astra number 33, Yandre de Penard, the number 9 BMW, and Richard Sillier, the number 10 BMW. They are very, very close, and that certainly makes for good racing. And I like the rear view, front view camera that we see as well. So the hunted and the hunter, as it were.
Yeah, so we're seeing the front view from the third car back.
And look how he catches. These guys are slowing each other down, I think, and that certainly gives Richard the chance to catch up to them. That being said, Jean-Ray du Toit, things are not working for him. He is 19 seconds behind Richard Sillier. So the gap between 4th and 5th is a country mile. And behind Jean-Ray is JP Sillier, another 17 seconds behind. And then to Wayne Kruger, more than a minute and a lap down. So the battle that is on is for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, very definitely.
Jean-Ray's car definitely looking second, and the front end is all crumpled. So he's obviously hit the wall at some point, and maybe he's damaged the car. And that's why he's struggling. He's now driving wounded.
And that happened early in the race. And you can see in that segment that he's on at the moment, there's nobody behind him and he's got nothing to aim at. So he's running totally in isolation, and that's really, I think, where you've got to keep your wits about you, is drive in your limits and just bring the car home and get the points that you get.
Right, so back to this 3-way battle.
Still on.
Still as close as ever. Just looking at the rest of the field, so we have 2 drivers with DNFs, TJ and Donovan, both having DNFs. We have Dirk in 10th place at the moment. So Dirk's still in the race. He's struggling a little bit. He's 3 laps down, but at least he is still in the race. Peter Mireille had been in the pits. He is back out. He's now, unfortunately, also 3 laps down, but still in the race. Monet du Toit is currently 2 laps down. Monet now driving the Infinity. Having a hardware change, decided to have a car change as well. Wayne Kruger is 1 lap down and in 7th place. And then we head to the drivers on the lead lap, which is JP Salier in 6th place. Jean-Louis du Toit, unfortunately, with his issues, is down in 5th place and struggling at the moment. And then we head to the main battle, the 3 cars here, Richard and Yandre. Looks like Andre's got a slight gap on them as they're fighting amongst each other there.
It certainly is close. But interesting to see now that we are, 12 minutes or so into the race, that the lead that Adrian Nel was building up it's up to 6 minutes now, maybe 7, but it isn't growing at the rate that it was earlier. So are those soft compound tires on the BMW, which is rear wheel drive, now starting to wear compared to the medium compound that the Vauxhall Astra has of André Besson? So that's going to be interesting. And then again, Yandre Dippenaar keeping up quite comfortably with a rear-wheel drive BMW on softs with the Vauxhall. And then just behind them, Richard Sillier also on softs with another BMW. So the BMWs all in the front 4, there are 3 BMWs, all with soft compound cars on, and it's the Vauxhall Astra of André Besson in 2nd position that he's trying to fight back, but he's now just a second ahead of Yandre Dippenaar, and Yandre Dippenaar has half a second behind him, Richard Sillier in 4th. So here's 2nd, 3rd and 4th as you see it rolling past in front of you, and this is certainly the battle of the race.
So I'm sure Andre's heart is in his throat at the moment. He's watching his mirrors through those chicanes, but he's got to watch those barriers so carefully as well, especially over those curbs. That one chicane, I think it's the first chicane, with those curbs, they're quite high. They launch the car, and of course when you're in the air, the car doesn't turn, it goes straight. So you've got to make sure that you aim correctly so that when you land, you're not going to go into the barrier.
It's a very fine line of actually using the curbing to get the car through the corner quickly, or going over too much of the curbing and having the car launch. And while those 2 wheels are in the air, of course, those 2 wheels do not grip. So you're going to go into a slide, and as we've seen in the circuit, you don't want to slide because there's concrete barriers out there that come up to meet you.
Richard having a beautiful view of the battle in front of him at the moment. So Yandre has managed to pull away from Richard and is now challenging Andre. Oh, up the inside. Did you make it up the inside?
That's a good bit of driving, shall we say, chivalry amongst those. They're right next to each other going down the straight. And I think he just left the door open a little wide. Is there change for Yandre? So now it's BMW. The Vauxhall Astra gets demoted down into 3rd position.
All right, so I'm sure now he's got a target. Sometimes it's easier to be behind the driver. When you're out on your own, you don't drive as aggressively, you don't spot your markers as easy. As soon as someone passes you, you can pick up the pace.
Yeah, and whatever I said a few minutes ago, throw that all out the window. But I think don't throw it out the window because I said it and it's not happening. The reason that Adrian Nel is now 9 seconds ahead of them is because Yandre and Andre are involved in this battle that they are. And I think they're slowing each other down, which Adrian's going to be very, very happy about, because with 21 minutes to go in this 35-minute race, and he's on soft rubber, and he has an 8.8 now 9-second lead, he's certainly going to have a little bit of breathing space when the tire wear comes a factor later on in the race.
So now it looks like the battle is on for 4th place. Looks like there's a bit of a gap. Yandre's starting to pull away now from Andre. Andre now under threat from Richard.
Yeah, it looks like the BMWs are, as the race progresses and the BMWs get a lighter fuel load, and hopefully their tires don't go off. Maybe it's the fuel load that is the bigger factor than the tire wear, but the BMWs are certainly challenging really hard on the front-wheel drive Vauxhall Astra, which is medium tire compound kitted.
Look how much they catch there over the chicane, over the bumps. The BMW definitely more cautious. And of course the BMW last 2 laps now locking its brakes into the final turn, so perhaps that'll become an issue as well.
And people might ask, what's the difference? I'm not a racing driver, and I'm just give it purely out of a physics perspective between front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive cars when you go racing. With a front-wheel drive car like the Vauxhall, you're actually doing your grip for acceleration on the front-wheel drives, and you are steering with the same tires as well. With a rear-wheel drive BMW, you're steering the car on the front wheels and you're propelling it with the rear wheels, which is a totally different physics and how it all works up. And the front-wheel drives, you tend to use power to pull the car straight, whereas with the BMW, with the rear-wheel drives, you tend to slide now and then. Is there a change for position as I'm gurgling along here? I think it was just a nose shown there by Richard Sillier, but Andre Besson manages to stay ahead of him. So the BMWs tend to use the back end stepping out and use the power as well, but it's not good for tire wear. But the Vauxhalls, which are pulling, steering, and braking with the front wheels, they seem to be heavy on the fronts.
Yeah, very different driving style, push versus pull.
Yes.
So the beauty of the front wheel drive, if you get into any kind of danger, you just put your foot down, it'll pull itself straight. The rear wheel drive, if the rear end comes out, it's a lot harder to catch it. But you can use the rear end to help rotate the car, so you can maybe turn the car better. So they both have their pros and cons.
Yeah, it's like side-slipping an aeroplane. The nose might not be pointing in the direction where you want it to go, but by utilizing the grip and the acceleration from the rear wheels, you can actually line the BMW up. Oh, there's a nudge on the wall. Was that Richard?
It was Richard, yes.
Yeah.
It looked like he didn't lose too much time for it, and I gather the car's not too badly damaged.
Yeah, it'll make him think about what he's doing and saying, is it really worth it, or should I just hang back and wait the remainder of the 18 minutes to see whether I can launch a challenge from there. So 18 minutes or 17 minutes, 40 seconds, we at about half race distance, and Adrian's still in the lead by now, almost 10 seconds. So it looks as though he's making those softs work for him and the BMW, as also is Jandre Dippenaar in second, because Jandre is now 2.5 seconds ahead of Andre Besson in that Vauxhall.
And they're now catching up to some back markers. They've got Peter Murray and I think it's Wayne Kruger in front of him.
Yeah, that's the Hyundai that I said I wonder whether that didn't cross the finish line early on the start, but it looks as though he didn't, because otherwise he would have been dished with a penalty by now. So Wayne had a demon start, in fact, and also driving one of the front-wheel drive Hyundais, the i30, and Mornay behind him in car number 62, but it's a long way behind him, is driving the Infinity, the Q50.
Right, so this battle, as you see, Jandre has now got past Peter. He's now going around the outside of Wayne. Wayne gives him some space, and Peter takes advantage of it. Nice opportunist driving there.
Yeah, you've got it. And some people actually, in amongst the back markers, they think, well, we're going to get a blue flag soon. That means the guy ahead of me has got to get out of the way. I've got to get out of the way. And if you've got three back markers, then the third guy will think, well, they've all got to get out of the way and they'll see the blue flag before me. Then I must just follow whoever's lapping them and I might score a position. And I think that's exactly what happened with that overtake there.
So in racing, you definitely have to be awake. If you see an opportunity, you need to go for it.
Yeah, and positioning is everything. As here, he shows a nose up the inside, but I don't think he was close enough even to attempt to pass at that stage. Let's have a look what's happening up front. It's less than 0.2 of a second that Richard Sillier in the BMW is behind Andre Besson in the Vauxhall. So for third and fourth, that battle is still being fought all over, and Adrian now is giving them a driving lesson of note, because he's now 13 seconds, give or take, ahead of Jandre Dippenaar in second position.
Yeah, the gap with Adrian and Jandre was actually coming down slightly, and then the last lap, Adrian decided that's enough, and he almost 2 seconds a lap faster. A 26.950 and a 28.942. So just shy of 2 seconds a lap faster than second place.
Yeah, I think with 20 minutes of this race run and 15 left, they have indicators in the car that tell them how much tyre wear they have remaining. Maybe Adrian has decided, listen, I've got enough tyre wear that I can actually give them a lesson and just clear out and be consistent and be in the middle of the road and be away from the barriers. And as I said, he's 13 and a half seconds now ahead of Jandre Dippenaar. If we look at the last laps, where are they? A 126.9 by Adrian compared to the 128.9 by Jandre. That's 2 seconds in a lap. So that's really, really quick. Is that number 15 BMW against the number 9 BMW? So it's Adrian now showing the way ahead of Jandre Dippenaar.
Bouncing over the curbs. I think that's another point of the track where the guys that are going to take more risk, it's risk versus reward. We're definitely seeing some drivers way more aggressive over those curbs.
Yeah, and as we said, a little bit too much is bad, and just enough is very good. So it's that fine line of when are you using the curbing too much versus when are you using the curbing just right. This is an exciting race to see the onboard footage. There's the curbs again in, and look how the difference between the two cars in using that curbing. It was all of a sudden a car length right there, and Richard Sillier, is he up into third? Yes, he is.
Oh, contact between them.
I think that was actually just running a bit wide, maybe by themselves, and did the one follow the other because, and now the question is going to be, what is the damage? Because although he's a long way back, 43 seconds, Jandre du Toit, we'll have to wait a lap or two to see whether there's been any damage, whether that was just blocking the line or whatever happened there. But Andre Besson in the Vauxhall is in third position still and is 5 seconds behind Jandre Dippenaar's BMW, and Richard Sillier 2 seconds behind Andre Besson. Richard also in a BMW. So certainly the wall came to greet them there. And were they concentrating on the cars that were, or the car that was being, oh, there's a spin by Wayne Kruger, I think it is.
I believe that's Wayne, yeah. Unfortunately, into the barrier.
And he gets it off the barrier and going again, but he's running all on his own in 7th position.
Of course, we do have live stewards, so the live stewards might look at that incident and hand out a penalty. So we're not sure what will happen. They will look at it on the fly, so we'll keep our eyes out for penalties.
Yeah, and this being an FIA sanctioned event, it's very good to have stewards to watch all events that do happen on the track. Sometimes if one looks how heavy the FIA has been in Formula One, there's been a lot of gurgling and mumbling and moaning and groaning about people exceeding track limits and getting 5 seconds after the fact, and then they protest that and it gets upheld, and then where everything changed, it changes back again. But yeah, we've got the stewards and they're sitting there, they have a replay button and they can go and have a look at the event and make a decision while we still have 11 and a half minutes in this race to go. JP Sillier being overtaken. Is that Adrian coming past him?
It is.
Yeah, well done, JP, for getting out the way. One of the flying bumblebees. And JP is in 6th position. And why I say well done, JP, is because JP wants to finish in 6th position and he doesn't want to slow the race leader down because he has absolutely no influence on the fact that the race leader is 15 seconds ahead of everybody else. But he can get out of the way, get the race leader past, maybe even for a few seconds, slipstream Adrian and gain a couple of positions, but well done. He is unluckily 19 seconds behind Jandre du Toit. It looks as though the wounded are leading the wounded because now Adrian Besson is 9 seconds behind Jandre Dippenaar, so there's no change going to happen for 2nd and 3rd. Richard Sillier, who's in 4th, is 40 seconds behind Andre. In 5th position we have Jandre. There's the change that I said might be coming. 1.7 seconds Jandre in the Hyundai, and he passes. So it looks as though Jandre, although we said he was running slow, he kept it going and he's made up a position and puts that Hyundai up into 4th position now. I think it actually happened a lot earlier because
Richard's in the pits, yes, that's why.
Yeah, that's why the change happened. I saw it go down, 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 and then all of a sudden he was past, and now he's a long way behind Andre Besson. So I think the top 4 are going to stay as is, but it's the guys behind that are going to be interesting because Richard Sillier 16 seconds behind JP Sillier. So those are cars number 89 and number 10. That's for 5th and 6th, a lap down. And I don't think there's much else that's going to happen behind that. I'm just trying to see where did the Hyundai Wayne Kruger, although he hit the barrier, he is 2 laps down, but he's still in 7th place. And there are good points to be had for 7th place.
And we did see at the start when Peter Murray went into the pits, he was in the pits for a while, and I think he lost 2 laps. So possibly Richard will lose 7th or 6th place to Wayne Kruger, who's currently in 7th place.
Yeah, so it can still all happen. And you have all the visuals in front of you. There were no penalties that you've seen dished out. So it's not a stop-go or a drive-through or anything. They actually went into the pits for repairs or tyres or something of that nature.
Correct. If we do get a penalty from the stewards, it will display, so we will see it. But if it's not obvious, we will obviously announce it so that everyone is aware of it. But so far, nothing has popped up that I have seen, and I'm pretty sure that was just for damage. Richard has left the pits, so he is now a lap down.
In 6th position. So
and Adrian right behind him.
Yeah, so Wayne Kruger's still going, and a long way behind Richard. So Adrian coming along just makes it look so easy when the guys get past and they get out of the way. That car has such good speed. Just to give you perspective again, Adrian is 17.5 seconds ahead of Jandre Dipnar. But Jandre, I think, has realized, let's put these points in the pocket and go away with 2nd place points. Andre Besson is 12.5 seconds behind Jandre, so not going to be a challenge there anytime soon. Jean-Ray de Tour in the Hyundai got gifted the 4th place, and I say that with no bad intent. You've got to be on the track and look after your car, and if other people ahead of you make mistakes and go into the barrier, then you get gifted a 4th position. And that's it. I said earlier in the race that I don't think Jean-Ray is going to catch up to them. My words were stuck in my mouth for a few minutes, and there we find Jean-Ray was running 5th. He's now in 4th position and 18 seconds ahead of JP Sillier in that 5th position.
Yeah, this is why you always got to play the long game. You got to remember, you have to be there at the end. If you're not there at the end, for nothing. So
yeah.
Sometimes it works better if you just back off a little bit and preserve. Don't take the chances at the start, and wait for your time a bit better. And later on in the race, then you take a chance, and then if it pays off, it's more worth it.
Yeah, the one saying that Adrian threw out the window today is you've got to first finish to finish first. And he's just piling on the pressure. He's 20 seconds ahead of Jandre Dipnar. So certainly he's got this track well sorted. His car is well balanced. He seems to be running a good race with 6 3/4 minutes to go.
So definitely looks like we're going to have Adrian in first, Jandre second, Andre third, unless there's any incidents. But at the moment, lap time wise, between 3rd and 4th, there's about a 1.5 second gap. So Andre did a 1:38 and Jandre did a 1:32.3. So I'm pretty sure that Jandre won't be catching on pace unless Andre has an incident. But I'm sure at this point, Andre can just back it off a bit. He knows he's not going to catch second. He's got a big gap until 4th place, so maybe he'll just roll it back a bit and just manage it to the end.
Just consolidate, yeah. Because with a 53-second gap between Andre and Jean-Ray, and only 6 minutes to go, then certainly there's not going to, and that's about 1.5 minutes per lap, give or take 3 seconds. So you're not going to catch with 55 seconds the difference between Jean-Ray and Andre. I don't think Jean-Ray has any idea or any delusions of catching Andre. So consolidate the race. I think also that Andre will know how far back his competitor is behind him. So he'll consolidate that position because he's not going to have any idea of catching Jandre Dipnar in the number 9 BMW, which is running in 2nd. Here's Jandre Dipnar.
You see the blue
coming up to the
flags there?
Bumblebee.
The digital blue flags flashing on the boards.
Yeah, and he stays to the right, which is well done, sir.
In the background, we have Dirk as well.
Well done to JP a 2nd time. So, and JP consolidating 5th, not doing anything dramatic, staying on the road, staying out of the way, staying out of trouble. And 5th position is good points. Dirk, he's got to, well, there's another saying that says you've got to be in it to win it. Dirk's not going to win it, but he's going to get those points for 10th position. which certainly for no points for TJ and no points for Donovan. So Dirk is going to be up the leaderboard wherever he does find himself. He's going to be climbing up a little bit with a few points that he does get for that 10th position.
Also, Monet in 8th place. Also just sort of off the radar, just doing his own thing, minding his own business, but still 8th place, getting the points.
Yeah. And he doesn't have anything to worry about Peter Murray behind him, because Peter is 2 laps further down behind him, and then Dirk is another 2 laps further down behind Peter. So we have 10 cars that, as things stand at the moment, with 4 minutes to go, we are going to finish this race with 10 cars on circuit. Adrianel is really rubbing it in, and 25 seconds ahead of Jan-Ray Dupnal. The last lap's a 26.8 for Adrianel, a 29.3. That's almost 3 seconds that he's quicker than Adrianel. And at this late stage of the race, you'd think with a 24-second lead, he'll be consolidating tires. No way. Adrianel is just sticking it down the road at the best pace he can possibly go.
And that gap is just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Now this race, he can spin it round and come over the finish line in reverse. He's so far ahead, but of course he's not going to do that. But Adrianel driving a great race. We did see him make a few mistakes in the free practice session, but as Dennis said, maybe he was pushing as hard as what he possibly could to see where the limits are of this car, and having set those limits or determined where those limits are, he's now driving fast but consistently in a good racing line and well within those limits. So he's not taking any chances, but he's really quick compared to, look how close he is to the barrier, but he's off the barrier, and that's what really matters. He's
brushing it slightly there, so definitely pushing the limits.
Yeah, he's maybe just taken the paint off the wheel arch there. But certainly he is using this track right to the extreme widths.
You must have heard us saying he's not pushing the limits as much, but he definitely pushed it there, brushing the walls.
Yeah,
but looking smooth.
Call to him as well. Let's see what his lap time does. I can't remember what I did call his previous lap, but a 26.5. We'll wait for him to finish the line to see what he does this lap round. But the last one was a 26.5. But yes, going very, very well.
And just to let you know the consistency of that, the fastest lap in the race is a 26.2.
So it's 0.3, within 0.3 of the quickest lap, which is his as well.
So very good consistency.
Yeah, and that's the reason why he's almost half a minute ahead of the car closest to him.
Yeah, Yandre's best time is at 27.2. That's a second a lap slower than Adrian's best lap time.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest difference is his last lap was at 29.3. So he's dropped by 2 seconds off from his fastest time, while Adrian has managed to maintain within 0.3 of a second.
And I think Jan-Ray, having what I said a few minutes ago, he knows that he's not going to catch Adrian, so he's actually dropped off a little bit. As you said, he's 2 seconds off his own personal best, but there's a logic in why he's running that. He just wants to consolidate that second position, and that's car number 9, as you see him there. That is Jan-Ray. His last lap was a 129.3. This one he comes across a 129.1, so he's picked up the pace a little bit, 0.2 of a second. So in the background there, JP Salier, the Flying Bumblebee.
Speaking of JP, there we have him. Car looking much the same as his German touring car.
Yeah. Dennis, just to make us sound stupid, Adrianel's quickest lap, a 126.2. Adrianel's last lap, a 126.3. Yeah. He's running within 0.1 of a second, up to the 1,000th of a second virtually. He's running within the same pace as his best lap, and this race only has 19 seconds to go. So it depends where he is now. He might be on his last lap, or if he crosses within the next 10 seconds, then he might have one to go.
I think he might actually get the checkered flag here.
And 3,
I believe that's it.
2...
He got the checkered flag.
Okay, so he got the checkered flag, so that's that good timing. He could have considered slowing it right down, because they've definitely got a clock in the car as well. But, almost half a minute. What a spectacular race. And this time around a 26.5 compared to the best lap of a 26.2. So really, really consistent racing. It seems so easy to say driver of the day to Adrian Nel, because not only did he win by half a minute, but he was posting laps within 0.1 of a second of his quickest lap, which he set very early in the race. So a great race to him. Jandre Dippenaar, half a minute behind or thereabouts in second place. So
Andre about to cross the line in third, right behind Monet.
Yeah, it adds the confusion when there's lap drivers in between. There goes Andre now. So Andre got third position, 20 seconds or so behind. Then it was Jean-Ray de Toey in the Hyundai in fourth. And then BMs of JP Sillier, Richard Sillier, another Hyundai, but he's still got to cross the line to finish, of Wayne Kruger. So he'll be in seventh position and already across the line because they've been lapped. Mornay de Toey in eighth in the Infinity. Peter Murray, the BMW number 420 in ninth. And Dirk finishing the number 47 BMW in 10th position.
So a good race overall. Some good action was had.
Yep.
I'm sure the drivers will have lots to talk about amongst themselves.
Yeah, the one unluckily we won't be talking to is Jean-Ray as to what damage was inflicted to that car so early in the race. But he stayed there to race it, and he got fourth position and the points that go with it.
JP coming across now to take fifth place. So I think the drivers have all now crossed the line. We are going to head to a ad break shortly. I believe this is them fighting their last lap. They're actually about to come up to the final turn, I believe.
Yeah, Richard Sillier and Wayne Kruger don't have a checkered flag behind them or behind their names. So here's JP Sillier, and he got fifth position. He has a checkered flag behind his name. So he's actually just driving it slowly back to the pits.
All right, we'll be back shortly. We're just going to head to an ad break and we'll be back with our interviews for the top three. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Till then.
right, welcome back, everybody. It's the end of round four from the electric docks in our British versus German touring cars. Of course, is the completion of the round. We're joined by the interviews, our top three drivers. We don't have a profile picture for our third place driver, but in third place we have Andre Besson, in second place Yandre Dupinot, and first overall, Adrian Nel.
Adrian, I don't know how I'm going to say this to not let Andre and Yandre feel bad, but a lesson in how to drive electric docks today. What a grand piece of driving. Although we did find, I think with about 3 laps to go, are we correct in saying you did actually touch the wall? But a great race, a well-balanced car, well set up, everything just seemed to work out well for you.
Yeah, it was a very, very good race. I'm quite happy with that. First win for the championship. And with some technical difficulties in the first round and the last round not going my way at all, with the tires not lasting, this went very well. I'm very happy, actually.
How important, we were watching you during the free practice, where we saw the underside of your car facing upwards, I think once or twice. How important is it actually to get time in the seat on a circuit like this, which is sort of unknown to everybody, to determine what you're going to do with the setup for the race proper?
It's like a discussion me and Andre had yesterday night. I first focus on learning the track properly, and then when I really know I've pushed the limits of the track, I've got the lines down at least, then I start setting up the car. Because some guys, they start immediately doing 3 laps after, like, they'll start, oh no, the car's understeering, oversteering, and then they start chasing the setup. I think it's more important to get the lines of the track perfect, and then start just changing things. If you're saying, okay, this is the right line, I need the car to do this to get to that line, and then doing it to that point. So that's how I usually do it, and that it works quite well.
And one last question, are you actually aware of the fact that I think your second or your third last lap was within 0.1 of a second of your quickest lap? Just to give you an idea of the consistency.
Yeah, I know about that. I was pushing the first 2-3 laps. I wasn't pushing real hard because I wanted to save the tires. Locking up the front brakes takes about 3 of the tires, 3% of the tires every time you lock it up. So I was focusing on not locking the fronts. And I was saving tires because in practice I could do in the 125s on the race fuel and such, but the tires weren't lasting at that pace. And then the third last lap was like, I have enough tire left, so I just pushed hard again to see what I could do.
Great race, and thanks for providing us with a show on how this track should be driven. Dennis, over to you for Andre and Yandre.
All right, Yandre, a fantastic second place. You had quite an interesting race. Your pace definitely was on par, but your average pace was much slower than your fastest lap compared to Adrian. I think that's where you've lost out. Did you find you had a lot more tire wear perhaps than you had expected?
Yes, I had some tire wear problems, much more than I had yesterday when I did a simulated race for 28 laps. I presume it's because of the track temperature that was higher than it was in the practice server. So, yeah, I think it came from that.
Okay, heading into the next round, you're definitely one of the top challenges at the moment. Is Yandre having a bit of a bad round tonight? Adrian having a good round. Are you expecting to be challenging for the front again at the next round with the German touring cars?
Well, I'm going to try at least. I must try at least. So, I'm going to do my best.
Because as the championship is progressing, you're definitely getting stronger and stronger. You seem to sort of struggle a little bit at the start, but now you seem to be getting your footing in, and you're definitely becoming one of the strongest and fighting for the victory. So it's good to see that you're up there and giving the guys a hard time. And also with Yandre then having a 1 or 2 bad rounds, being the current champion, I think you were in second. You might actually now be the overall leader, if I'm correct.
I do think so. I'm not sure. But as the standings that you have now is a bit different, we worked it out with 2 drop rounds, and it looks a lot different. So yeah.
All right. And then, of course, Andre, we don't have a profile pic for you, so apologies for that. But a fantastic drive, and welcome to the championship. You didn't join for the first race, but you're there now, and you're definitely showing good pace. You had a very close call, I believe it was with Richard, where the two of you came together, and at that point, Richard, I think, had damage and had to pit. I'm not sure how your damage was, but in the end, bringing it home for third. Would you like to give us the race roundup from your point of view?
Yeah, when we had that collision, I drove with the skew steering for the rest of the race. Yeah, so I struggled a bit, and the thing with the front wheel drives is the tire wear is very hard on them. Trying to keep it together, tires overheating.
Yeah,
so it was quite difficult.
We could definitely see that Richard was damaged in your car. We're looking at the gap because you had quite a large gap to Gendre in fourth. At that point, he had inherited fourth thanks to Richard having to pit. But the gap was quite large, so I was assuming that you were maybe just backing off to preserve everything, and because you couldn't catch second, but you didn't have to worry about fourth. But obviously with the wheel being skewed, that's a different story.
Yeah, the main focus was not to hit that first chicanes with the skew steering.
One thing we did notice was that the drivers in the front wheel cars seemed a lot more cautious through that first chicane. Is that because of the oversteer of the front wheel drive that you would maybe fearing the barrier on the chicane on the inside?
I don't think so, because every time I went through that chicane, I picked up on Gendre in the first rounds.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah.
All right, well, great round there. And let me head over to Adrian. So, Adrian, closing thoughts? You're definitely jumping up in the championship. You've had a rocky start to the championship. It's definitely going strength to strength in the last couple of rounds, and now you get your first victory. You've shown the pace before, but just didn't come through. You had your issues in the races. Now you've put it all together. Are you confident that you can carry on with this momentum for the rest of the championship?
I think so. I hope so. Tire wear is a big part of this championship, even compared to the GT3 series that we ran in your series that you hosted. The touring cars are harsh on the tires, so managing the tires is quite important, and that's something I've tried to work on. So let's see if that carries forward now.
All right, well, congratulations to our top 3 drivers, and I'm going to just kick you guys all out for now, as we'll say our closing thoughts to everyone. I'm just going to drop you all into the other channel, so thank you very much, and congratulations once again. So, of course, that brings us to the end of the round. So our next round is Suzuka. That will be in the German touring car. So a much faster car. It'll have DRS. It's more like Formula 1 style pace. A very fast flowing track. Kind of unforgiving in some areas. It's one of my favorite tracks in the world. I certainly love the first sector through those fast sweeping S's. Very iconic circuit. Also a bit of a driver's circuit, so I think we'll definitely see the drivers that are willing to push the limits a bit more at the front. Sean, what are you expecting from Suzuka with the way the drivers are starting to progress as the championship is unfolding? Are you expecting Adrian to be the challenger going into the next round?
I think he is, the way that he explained how he goes about setting up the car for the race weekend and how important it is first to get the lines correct on the circuit, and once you've got the right line, then go for setup and pace. So I think it's a very mature approach, but maybe the other guys will be listening to him and follow his advice. I think the top 5 will probably start settling into who's going to be in the top 5 for the championship. We're approaching halfway, so it's going to be very interesting. Suzuka is, of course, a very different circuit to the one that we were on today. And we'll see maybe different cars will run in the German touring cars. They all run BMWs, so there's less of a factor with front wheel and rear wheel drive. And also, I think we did see there that most of the cars had the same compound, or we can expect most of the cars there to have the same tire compound. We'll have to wait and see, but I certainly do see that the championship starts sort of separating the quicker drivers from the slower drivers when we go there next.
All right, and then of course the championship, just to let everyone know, the next round is Suzuka. That would be splitting the championship. That would be the halfway mark. We'll then be following that with the Road Atlanta, then Road America, then Lime Rock Park, so 3 American rounds in a row, Hockenheim from Germany, and then Alton Park or possibly Tony Rust. So until the next race, have a good week. We will catch you all at the next one. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks, Dennis, for all your hard work. Speak to you again later, everybody. Bye.